And then we'll have to just get with Joel and ask him how to get it posted.
Okay.
We haven't done that.
So,
Alex.
So today's movie is Ben-Hur, the 1959 version, which is about twice the length of the 2016 version, but so worth it. Today's theme is also God's providence. Just an overview. Have all of you been able to watch the film? I know the more.
I've seen it a long time ago.
Okay.
But I'm familiar with it, yeah.
Okay, so just an overview in case it's been a while. Ben-Hur is about the man who was a wealthy prince in first century Judea, and he's betrayed by a friend and is sent to be a Roman prisoner rowing an oar for a ship. He saves his Roman commander and is later adopted by that commander, but still continues to seek revenge for those he loves, and is overwhelmed by just the anguish of life, and he finds a man greater than himself who gives him life. That man is Jesus. And Diane, I know you like the introduction.
Yes.
The director did not have one, but I was able to find one online. So we're going to go ahead and watch that real quick.
Oh, cool.
Let me know if there's feedback. Hopefully not.
No book save the Bible has ever been so widely read. Millions have learned to know and love its characters. For more than anything else, Ben-Hur is a story of people. People brought vividly to life in this magnificent motion picture of the story of Judah Ben-Hur, a man who knew the Christ, the prince who became a slave to hold the fate of the world in his chained hands. Of the beautiful Esther, who loved Ben-Hur as few men have ever been loved. Of proud Quintus Arrius, a man first, a Roman second. Of Messala, the power mad, once Ben-Hur's boyhood friend, now his deadliest enemy. Of the lusty Sheik Ilderim, who held that one God and 50 wives were enough for any man. Of the gentle Miriam, whose faith was the path Ben-Hur followed. And Tirzah, his sister, condemned to a living death because she bore her brother's name. There was Simonides, loyal to one master and one God. And Tiberius, who ruled Rome when Rome ruled the world. There was Balthazar, who found the Christ in a manger, and Pontius Pilate, who crucified him between two thieves. Inspiration of great artists, such as Ben Stahl, whose work we see here. The color, the excitement, the human drama, and the spectacle of Ben-Hur has swept the world. An inspired story even today, as it was 2,000 years ago, following a bright star to a new conception of man's dignity and divine rights. Ben-Hur stuns with the impact of its violence and thundering action. Yet, it can lift your spirits to the skies. But with all its astounding pageantry and spectacle, Ben-Hur is a story of people, their conflicts, and their loves. Yes, Ben-Hur is a tribute to the age of miracles, then and now.
Sorry, Google's messing with everyone. So thinking about all that Judah experienced, is there some purpose or goal to these circumstances? And if so, what?
Well, God usually will take things that aren't necessarily good and try to bring good out of it. So, but I'm not able to say what a specific purpose or goal is. other than just that God would try to turn it around for good.
Thank you, Diane. One of the scenes that comes to mind, and someone else please jump in if something comes to you, is there's two. There's a scene at the beginning to where Jesus, the Christ, offers Judah water. And at the end, Judah tries to return that in kind back to Jesus the Christ. So it was an overarching thing. And I know at the end, Judah mentions that he found a man who gave him life. Even though he finds that man as he's about to head into slavery. So perhaps if Judah hadn't been going into slavery, he would never have met the Christ.
He
I would
might
say
have been
it's-
one of the ones calling for his condemnation, actually.
Mm.
in
That's-
Jerusalem.
Alex,
It seems like there's a little parallel to the story of Job, just from the man who had everything and it was taken away from him in steps, and but obviously not to the extent of what Job went through. But then at the end, I guess the different to the Job story in this one, and I guess maybe it's the difference between the Old and New Testament. In this one, everything that it mattered to Judah was restored to him, his family, and yeah.
right, in the health of his sister and
The
mother.
health, yes, yeah, the full restoration of his family, and with it some faith to go.
So here's another scene. This is the scene to where he's rowing, and then they're talking. I want you to watch the scene, and then we'll discuss the questions. Mostly, how does this scene make you feel? And was Judah right to believe that God had a plan for him? Does God save him? How are some of the guiding questions? We don't have to stick to them. We can talk about the scene and God's providence independently of those questions too.
Why are you here? I was ordered to report to you during my release. Yes. I'd forgotten. You could have killed me as I lay there. You're a condemned man, why didn't you? I'm not ready to die. What do you think will save you? The God of my father. Your God has forsaken you. There's no more power than the images I pray to. My gods will not help me. Your God will not help you. But I might. Does that interest you, 41? I can see that it does. I'm a fighting man by profession, and in my leisure moments it amuses me to train fighting men. I own some of the best gladiators and charioteers in Rome. Would you like to become one of them? To die as your slave? Better than to live in chains below these decks. I will not be here forever. No? What would you do if you escaped? 2 people were condemned with me. My mother and sister, even though they were innocent. I will not rest. Do not say that you were innocent. Would it do any good to say it again? No. Now consider my offer carefully. You will never escape while we are victorious. If we are not, you will sink with this ship chained to your oar. cannot believe that God has let me live these 3 years to die chained to an oar. It's a strange, stubborn faith you keep. To believe that existence has a purpose. A sane man would have learned to lose it long before this. As you have. What drove it out of you? Go back to your oar, 41. Consul, enemy sighted. Signal the fleet. Prepare for battle. Once before, but that helped me.
Sorry, I'm trying to get to the scene, just the part to where he's not chained. I'm sorry for skipping around. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Welcome to teaching, everyone.
God.
Judah has
On up, 41. Why did he do that? I don't know. Once before, but that helped me. I didn't know why then.
Okay, so what were some thoughts or feelings that you had during that clip?
Well, during the first part, I felt bad, but for the second part, when he unchained him, I felt really thankful. It was a totally opposite feeling and reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me think of Joseph a little bit, who well, even though he was in similarly bad situation, somehow people that were in power over him were moved to help him, and he ended up in a position to help other people. So,
Yeah.
Judah, not only was he able to save himself, but he also chose to help save the rest of, as many as he could, the rest of his fellow oarsmen, because he was able to act.
Yeah, that's a good connection. Lindsay or Alex, did you have any thoughts on the scene?
For me, it was just in this case, it's not to say God didn't save him here, but his faith saved him, and his faith knowing that, it wasn't the chain that was keeping him on the boat. It was knowing that if he left his post on the boat, then he'd be done and he wouldn't be able to save his family or, obviously also seek revenge. But he wasn't done yet, and he convinced Quintus that his journey wasn't finished yet. It didn't matter if he had a chain on him or not. He wasn't going to leave without finishing what he needed to finish.
Very nice. So this scene, do y'all want to watch this scene, or we can just discuss it? Okay. So this scene has to do with Judah talking about Masala, and he gets asked by Balthazar, why are you seeking revenge, basically? Why are you rejecting God's providence? Have you not thought maybe he has given you a sign? So suppose God had brought Masala to justice or freed Judah from slavery earlier. Do you think Judah still would have lost his faith?
I haven't forgotten you. No, you are the swiftest, but you must be steady. Never seen finer horses, even in Rome. Now, you should see that mother nearer. I dare not bring her because my people couldn't bear her absence. All right, all right. Ah, you are their friend, and they do not give their affections readily. Come, Antares Regal, it is late. Adair, Candebaran, go to sleep. You must be strong and swift. Go, my children, go. When they race at Jerusalem, they will challenge the finest teams in the world, not to mention the champion of the East, Tribune Messala with his black devils. He stops at nothing to win. Messala? In the circus? Yes. You know him? I know him. Perhaps without much liking. Judah Ben-Hur, my people are praying for a man who can drive their team to victory over Messala. You could be that man. You could be the one to stamp this Roman's arrogance into the sand of that arena. You've seen my horses. They need only a driver who is worthy of them, one who will rule with love and not the wind. For such a man, they would outrace the wind. It's not possible. That is a pity. Think of it. To break his pride, to humble this tribune before the very people is degraded. Just think. His defeat and humiliation at the hands of a Jew. I know it is not possible. Does it not delight your imagination? Does it not answer your purpose? I must deal with Messala in my own way. And your way is to kill him. I see this terrible thing in your eyes, Judah Ben-Hur. But no matter what this man has done to you, you have no right to take his life. He will be punished inevitably. I don't believe in miracles. And all life is a miracle. Why will you not accept God's judgment? You do not believe in miracles. Yet God once spoke to me out of the darkness. The star led me to a village called Bethlehem, where I found a newborn child in a manger. And God lived in this child. And now he is a grown man and is ready to begin his work. And that is why I have returned here, so that I may be at hand when he comes among us. He is near. He saw the sun set this evening, as we did. Perhaps he's standing in a doorway somewhere or on a hilltop. Perhaps he is a shepherd, a merchant, a fisherman. But he lives. And all our lives from now on will carry his mark. There are many paths to God, my son. I hope yours will not be too difficult.
So did Judah believe in the miraculous when he thought God would deliver him from slavery? Do we think that's something that he thought at the time? And why does he reject God's providence?
I felt like he, like many of us, wanted to do things in his own way, has a thought in his mind, a path in his mind of how this is going to play out. And so the fact that he's offered an alternate path that might help him get what he wants, he's sort of fixated on his own idea. So I'm not sure that it's that he really doesn't believe in the miraculous at all. I think it's just that he feels like he knows how he wants this to play out.
Yes. Have any of y'all ever been so focused on how you want something to turn out that you lost sight of what maybe the direction that God was pulling you or the situation in?
Like in this case, I mean, he knew that obviously he wanted to get his family out of prison and stuff like that, but I think there was clearly a burning fire to serve justice to Masala. And you know, the saying, God, please make me a better person, but not yet, would apply here, where, yeah, you can save me, but not until after I've thrown that spear at my friend.
Yeah, I like that. The conditional, let me have my justice, and then, or make everything else better, but still let me have the selfish thing part of it.
What I saw was even after, so the idea, you would have thought after he saw Masala get trampled by his own self-hatred, that would have been the turning point for him to realize, okay, maybe this hatred isn't the right way to go. But I guess at that point, his family hadn't been restored yet. So then when he was talking to the governor and rejected becoming a Roman citizen and said, I'm still going to do what I can to destroy Rome because it's still a terrible thing, like he hadn't gotten there yet.
He was definitely very hesitant.
I haven't forgotten you.
Sorry about that. So for this next question, we need to look at Isaiah 46, 9 through 11. Did somebody want to read this Bible passage?
I can read it.
Okay.
Remember the former things, those of long ago. I am God, and there is no other. I am God, and there is none like me. I make known the end from the beginning, from ancient times what is still to come. I say, my purpose will stand, and I will do all that I please. From the east, I summon a bird of prey, from a far-off land, a man to fulfill my purpose. What I have said, that I will bring about. What I have planned, that I will do.
Thank you, Natalie. So did Judah, oh, sorry. We're circling back to those same questions. Does this change your thought on Judah's view of thinking? Did he ever really change his thinking? Did he really think that God was with him all along and he was being stubborn? Or did he really think that he was in it on his own and he had lost his faith? I think I just muddied the waters. So for 2 Peter, is it large enough if we look at this slide here with the questions next to it? I know
That's good. Yes, that's good.
It is for me.
So for 2 Peter 3, chapter 3, verses 8 and 9. But do not forget this one thing, dear friends. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. The Lord is not slow in keeping his promise, as some understand slowness. Instead, he is patient with you, not wanting anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance. So this is kind of extending on what Alex had been saying about Judah kind of pursuing his course of how he felt things should run. Was Judah trusting in God's timing, or was he trusting in his own timing?
I think that Judah was trusting in his own timing, and kind of circling back to the other question that you asked about, does he believe in miracles and the miraculous? I really think he is Jewish, so there is a covenant with his God that he understands, and there are rituals that he follows with his religion. But I think in his day-to-day moments, he's trusting in his own hands and in his own actions, as well as his own timing, which is why he gets so frustrated that it's not happening on his timeline, just like Natalie was saying.
Yes, yes. How many of us have done that before? I know I have. By the end of Ben-Hur, it is evidence that God's timing of events in Judah's life were absolutely perfect. Is that a statement you agree with? How is it evident that the timing was perfect?
I had thought, and maybe I'm slightly more pessimistic than my lovely wife. I had thought, oh man, they missed the boat. Should have seen Jesus earlier. And yeah, I was telling her, I was trying to figure out, like, is Judah going to make Esther do all the dirty work of taking his mom and sister to go see Jesus and get healed from their disease? And then, like, when it didn't happen, like, sorry. Yeah.
You know, I love a good movie where there are like small tie-ins. So Brittany, what you were mentioning before, like when he was offered the water and we all saw like the hair that we knew was the back of Jesus. And then at the end when Jesus was carrying the cross and Judah was able to offer him water, and even made the comment, like, I know that man, like Jesus does with us. I know them. These are my people. I think that makes it very evident that God's timing was perfect in Judah's life.
I love the two opposite thoughts there. Natalie or Diane, did either of you have a thought about that? How is it evident that God's timing of the events of Judah's life were perfect?
I mean, Judah was not, he certainly, I think, when he saw Jesus' face and realized, oh, that's that same man that gave me water so long ago when they were trying to keep me from getting water. And otherwise I would have died. If I hadn't gotten water at that point, I probably wouldn't have lived. But I don't know, he was so not interested in going to hear him preach, even though Esther tried to get him to go. He just was pretty cynical about, this is yet another guy talking. And it wasn't until he realized, oh, this is that same guy, and clearly, from the acting, we can see that he recognized this is somebody different. This is not a regular guy. But the thing that the most amazing little line in the movie to me was at the very end when he says he forgave the people who hurt him, and I felt him take the sword from my hand. Did it fall? It did, didn't it?
Yeah, that was a beautiful one.
Yeah, that was an amazing, that kind of summarized the whole thing for me. So I'm not sure if it hadn't been for that sacrificial that, that forgiveness in the midst of being murdered, that I'm not sure Judah would have gotten it, because he's clearly a hard-headed guy.
I almost feel the timing of him not going to hear Jesus speak was also perfectly done, because I don't think he would have. He clearly felt the Christ, and it had an impact on him without him knowing until the crucifixion who he was and the importance of his role for
Mhm.
all of us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing I found interesting about this movie, and some of the other depictions of the life of Christ, Jesus Christ Superstar, is they stop with the crucifixion, and they don't go on and show the resurrection. And so I just find that to be an interesting choice from the point of telling the story. It's the story of the Christ is the subtitle of the movie, but they don't show what we in the Reformed Church consider to be the most important part.
Right.
I was trying to figure out why the 10 Commandments, I'd never seen this before over the last 3 days. I was trying to figure out why the 10 Commandments is the one that's shown every Easter and not Ben-Hur now, that this is I get it that Moses is important, but it has nothing to do with Easter as opposed to this. And I know that.
I think it's because it's Passover.
Okay.
That's I had the same question, and I thought about it and went, oh, well, it explains Passover.
Wow.
So, but yeah.
I'm not the brains of this operation. So.
No, because I had the same thought. Why are they showing this now? And then, the next day after, because I watched it this year, I hadn't watched it in years and years, but I watched it this year around Easter. We just kind of stumbled across it. And then the next day I saw something about Passover, and I made that connection in my mind.
You watched Ben-Hur, the 10 Commandments.
The 10 Commandments.
Yeah. My dad had mentioned that they used to show Ben-Hur around Easter all the time. So I'm not really sure why there's been the shift. I know what we've been talking about with the Passover, but it's interesting that Ben-Hur has been sidelined around Easter.
I remember watching 10 Commandments multiple times as a kid on that Easter evening. And I know if I was an 8-year-old waiting for that chariot race, I would have made it till 10:30 at night to watch, which some of us thought should have been a 4-lap race instead of a 9-lap race.
Some of us did.
Well, I remember them showing Ben-Hur sometimes at Easter time also. I guess probably 60s, 70s,
And I didn't look for it. We just kind of stumbled across, we were flipping through and went, oh, the 10 Commandments, haven't seen that in 20 years. Let's watch that. So,
and when they did show them, it was a big thing, because
yes.
Back at that time, it wasn't so common to show movies on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And you only saw movies in a theater. You didn't have your own DVD or a video or anything to watch at home. And so it was a big deal when a movie was on TV, and they advertised it a lot. And, the Wizard of Oz was another one that was showing almost annually. And it was a really big thing.
Yeah.
I really wonder if the switch was that they redid Ben-Hur in 2016, so it's still part of the social conversation, right? People have
could be
at like the modern version, which is very good. But after having to hunt down the 1959 version, which I thought I ordered originally, I understand why I needed to watch the 1959 version.
Yeah. I ended up with both of them, and all of the movies, by the way, are going to be, I've ordered the DVDs and they're going to be in our library
Oh, good.
after
Awesome.
this class. And if anybody wants to borrow a DVD to watch one, I've got them, and I'll be happy to, you
Yeah.
know, to get it to you somehow. So let me know.
What is
I've
the next
watched-
one? Not that we haven't seen the syllabus.
It is 12 Angry Men, and it's got its own devoted
Mm.
slide soon.
which I had never seen before, and we watched it last night. My husband couldn't believe I'd never seen 12 Angry Men, but I'd
Oh,
never.
yeah. That's a classic.
It is. That's what he said.
Yes.
So if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you watch it. It's quite an extraordinary film, and
Henry
I
Fonda is the best Fonda.
Alex is really
Sorry,
excited.
Peter.
yes, yeah, it was.
This is, let's see, we have only a few minutes left. Let's go ahead and reflect on how can we wait for God with faith and hope? Or what is it like to encounter Jesus? Like Judah, he had no idea the man who made such a big impact on his life and set the trajectory for him to continue living until that man gave up his life.
I think the last year has taught us how to wait for hope and faith that it will get better, and that, you know, it's a much shorter term expectation than the faith of believing in God and Jesus. But a similar thing where you can look around, you can see that things aren't great, but you can, you know, I love the I'm trying to think of the physical manifestation of our church being Matthew 25, with things that we can do to try and make it the world a godlier place while we're waiting. That's what helps. I don't like to sit around and wait without having something to do.
I like that. Nice tie-in with Matthew 25 too.
I think a lot of prayer and a lot of faith. It takes both to do that waiting with hope. A strong belief in your faith in Jesus and in God.
Yeah, I was raised with the thought that you may not have much, but you always have hope.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, hearing stories like this, I mean, thinking about, okay, well, we've been going through this for a year, and for me personally, it hasn't been that hard, compared to a lot of other people. I've had it exceptionally easy, and just, I feel very, very fortunate that it hasn't been worse than it has, but it's still hard. But hearing stories about things like, 3 years as a slave in a rowing a Roman ship, 3 years is a long time to live like that. Or 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, or this is not the first time that people have had to endure hardship and wait and hold on to hope. And but our little family, mantra is everything always turns out for the best in the end. And so we try to say that at moments of exhaustion, to say that to each other. Everything always turns out for the best in the end. And if we look back, so far that's been true. It's just getting to the end.
Yeah.
Really, really
It's
hard.
the hard part.
Yeah. Yep.
Any final thoughts? And Alex, here you go. Next week, 12 Angry Men. We'll talk about prejudice versus justice.
Mm,
Yes,
very timely conversation.
it is a timely conversation. Any final thoughts about Ben-Hur or any comments on 10 Commandments from last week?
I think we've chosen some movies that have really stood the test of time to still be relevant movies, which is amazing. I'm not sure that can be said with a lot of things that are made nowadays.
Very true.
Yeah, yeah. I last watched Ben-Hur when I was probably 8 years old, and so the only thing I remembered about it was the chariot scene, because of course, but because that pops up every once in a while. It's
Yeah.
kind of cultural, touchstone. But it's very memorable in any case. You see that and you immediately know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
But I didn't remember any of the rest of the story, and I wouldn't have understood it at all at the age of 8, really, So I was impressed. You think of it as being kind of an old chestnut of a movie, but it's really good if you can hang in there for the 3 hours that it
Yeah,
takes
it's
to
long.
watch it. It was worth the time, I thought, to watch it again as a grown-up when I could understand more of what it was about.
I
So-
And
did.
especially for that time in history, movies weren't usually that long. It was a rarity.
No, and that was,
That's a long
yeah, it
movie.
was fun, because it was more like an opera,
Yeah.
It had a prelude and it had acts and an intermission, and it was extraordinary. It was beautiful. I mean, I think some of the comic book kind of movies are that beautiful, but not very many things are that beautiful anymore. It was just
It's true.
gorgeous. The horses and the costumes and it was fun.
The overarching theme from start to finish to me was pretty cool. Yeah. Would any of y'all like to pray us out today? Nose goes? Just kidding.
I guess I can.
Thank you, Diane.
Dearest Lord, thank you for our time to study your word through movies and these shared experiences and apply these lessons to our life today. Please remember those we have mentioned in prayer as we started our class. And please be with our country and our world as we approach this week of a change in our leadership. And may it please be peaceful and as American change in leadership has always been. And let these threats not come to pass that are out there. And may we have faith that this pandemic will pass, and we are going to go ahead and things will turn out for the good in your providence for us, God. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Brittany, for leading this fun class.